morning. So thanks, Sachin, and I'll continue the conversation and focus more on the aspects of the complete picture that Persistent addresses. Something wrong with this. So, as Sachin said, while we have a Microsoft stack-based solution for patient engagement, Persistent is a global company working in 18 countries. North America is our biggest market. But we also do very unique things in India, which are relevant to the Indian context. And against the backdrop of digital disruption, I wanted to kind of take this opportunity to share the lessons that we have from working with the global customers as well as the unique scenario in India. Especially when we are talking about digital and disruption. One of the things that we would like to call about is the digital divide that is getting wider and wider, specifically from the patient point of view, access, affordability, and equity. These are concepts that have gotten a lot of visibility and prominence in the Western markets. In India, these problems are known, but there is very little effort that is going in that direction. Especially as you may have heard yesterday or otherwise also, the Indian government and policies are trying to address this. But wanted to put in front of you the lessons that we have, and specifically in the access and affordability case, some of the solutions that Sachin talked about will be able to address this because of putting the patient at the center and providing digital technologies to work with the patient. Focusing on the personalization and engagement, essentially we have deployed solutions in the US market, and our lessons essentially point to the fact that when patients are empowered, they can do more self-care, they can be more proactive, they can engage the health system better. And especially in India, that is not just an opportunity to take care of the patient's disease, it's also a revenue opportunity in terms of bringing more patients to the hospital, doing more footfalls, and also doing remote monitoring. So I have some more details on how we are addressing this in the global markets. From a technology perspective, everybody is aware about things that ChatGPT is doing. What we are finding in some of our early work is it is playing a significant role as far as access to care is concerned. Specifically, when giving diagnosis to patients, especially in several therapeutic areas like oncology, there isn't enough number of clinicians or primary care physicians that are available, especially in India. And some of these technologies will play a role in terms of making differential diagnosis available to the primary care center for providing direct access to the patients. And finally, this is one of the bigger lessons that we have. Persistent is focusing on many therapeutic areas, but with specific angle being that in India, we don't have enough unique data sets about Indian patients. So therefore, we don't understand the Indian genome or the Indian phenotype, and we apply US or Western care standards, and that may not be appropriate. And the same condition applies obviously to Middle East or Africa, any part of the world. So one of the other activities that Persistent has been involved in is developing and helping develop care standards as well as unique aspects of therapeutic care that will be specific to the India population. And I'll use the rest of my time to go into some of these in a bit more detail. From a patient engagement point of view, globally, we work across 4 areas. So we spend or we have invested a lot of effort in the experience and engagement side. Sachin spoke about some of the specific solutions. This is really about addressing the patient's need at the point of care as well as in the home. So home is now becoming, especially in the Western markets, but even in like the Indian rural markets, the point of care will shift more towards rural settings. And there would be a need to apply these kinds of technologies to be again more patient-centric. We also do a lot of work in care delivery. So from a population health perspective, from use of AI for medical diagnosis. And in the India context, population screening is vital because of typically most of these conditions are missed and it is a case of late diagnosis. In terms of digitized operations, especially for the hospital colleagues and CIOs present here, Command center activity and command center based digital operations is an area of focus. And this essentially not only is focused on the patient and improving efficiency around the patient experience, it's also improving the operational efficiency of the hospitals. And finally, we also work with insurance companies, both in India and US. A lot of expertise around that as well that we can bring to the table. I want to briefly mention this work that we have done for Narayana Health. Is very much aligned to the examples that I've been talking to. And for this work is really around patient engagement and the next generation patient experience. The details I will leave for you to find out. You can come to our booth, Persistent booth, and interact with our team, and we can explain very much how Narayana is getting benefits of this technology. Coming to Persistent's uniqueness. So we believe that this is not just about technology. This is also about understanding the science behind the individual disease. So we have been collaborating with institutes across the world, academic institutes, research institutes, hospital systems, even pharma and biopharma. And the idea is to essentially bring or take the translational part of this whole science all the way from the bench into the bedside, and narrow the gap it takes to go from a leading research that happens in a lab and its application in the clinic. So Persistent focuses heavily in oncology. We have engagements that go all the way from preclinical, clinical research in pharma, and in terms of even providing oncology specific solutions in various markets. We have also distinguished in terms of being the leaders in providing solutions for cell therapy. This is one of the leading, or I would say innovative areas in terms of how the science itself is advancing. And the example that I gave about data and data sets in India, we work closely with RSSDI, which is the Research Society for Diabetes in India. And they are the second largest as next after the American Diabetes Association. Our work is focused on identifying data that is unique to the Indian diabetic patient. So the thin fat patient, as the Indian diabetic patient is called. And essentially, again, a unique contribution in terms of helping Indian healthcare identify unique Indian conditions in chronic conditions and apply them to developing care standards for India. I'll take a minute to talk about the same work that we do for the cancer genome. So in US, there is something called as a TCGA, which is the Cancer Genome Atlas. What Persistent is doing, we are a founding member of this consortium. It's a not-for-profit, open collaborative consortium in India across various kinds of hospitals and research institutes. ICGA stands for Indian Cancer Genome Atlas. So the idea being that in India, there is a high cancer burden. The Indian genotype is unique. It is different than the Western genotype in terms of the variants and the types of cancer conditions that are found. And there is a need to identify what is unique about the Indian patients and how to better address them using therapies and diagnostic solutions that are developed for India. So this is an activity that we have already begun with our collaborators, and the output essentially will be a kind of a data set or a knowledge base that will be useful for this entire industry, not just hospitals and screening centers, but also pharma, biopharma, diagnostic companies. So this is one of the ways in which we uniquely contribute to the Indian healthcare as well as to the research community in India. In addition to this, we have a broader interest. Our ability to work with these collaborations is based on our combined collaboration across the industry. So as I said, we work not just in patient engagement, but we span all the way from preclinical to clinical. So we have partners in wet lab. We provide data science for them. So clinical research that happens in all of these advanced areas, we provide the data science, AI, ML, that will identify and make new discoveries happen faster. And at the same time, we work with hospital systems. So we work in creating the next generation solutions. We help in creating the new diagnostics, biomarkers, population health screening. So Persistent has a very unique perspective in terms of what a technology company should do in terms of working with this healthcare ecosystem, and also contributing in terms of advancing healthcare, especially in the India context. I'll give you some more details about Persistent, and please drop by our booth and understand more how we are essentially being part of this ecosystem. We are a billion-dollar company in 18 countries, headquartered in Pune, and we have multiple centers in Pune as well. Healthcare life sciences is a big part of our business, and I've just, in the interest of time, I've just given few examples of the work we do in this area. And we are a global, almost 23,000 strong company. We are also called the best billion-dollar company by Forbes. And just to give you a perspective on the geographies where we are present, you can see that on the map down here. So to summarize, there are quite a few lessons in terms of the work that Persistent has been doing globally. We have found solutions that can scale not just to Western markets, but to India as well, focusing on patient engagement, but also going end to end from bench to bedside, all the way from clinical research into data sets, AI, ML, unique to specific geographies, and then applying that to point of care and hospital systems. So with that, I will wrap it up. Thank you for the time, and hope to see you at our booth. Thank you.